Hello and welcome to this week's lesson on goals, motivation, and designing an action plan. Goals are great because they're a uniquely human gift. Really, if you think about it, the ability to project into the future a desired outcome and then organize our present situation to line up so that we can actually achieve and realize that vision that we projected is pretty much what separates humans from animals. I hope that you like this week's lesson, getting into, again, motivation, intrinsic and extrinsic, finding a sense of flow, setting goals, and building an action plan. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email. The vision we did last week was a creative right-brained exercise, where the goal setting we're going to do this week takes a more linear, logical left brain. The two go hand in hand, though. If your vision is the flesh, then we could say your goals are the bones. They're really like the structure or scaffolding that support your vision. Just like an architect needs blueprints, we need the organization and structure of a goals and action plan if we're going to live a life of optimal health and well-being. This week, you're going to tap into your intrinsic motivation. This is the internal drive that gets you up early in the morning on a rainy day to do your thing. We'll also go through a step-by-step process of setting life-affirming goals that give you a sense of flow. This is the state of optimal performance. After that, we'll break those goals down into small steps to generate a momentum of wins. Finally, we'll focus on shifting into a healthy mindset around goals. It'll be an attitude adjustment that will prepare you to go the distance and learn to master long-term success rather than simply achieve short-term results. Working towards goals has been proven to increase motivation, and yet there's a paradox. It takes motivation to start working towards your goals. Clarifying your motivators is a great first step to overcoming this inertia and getting into the positive feedback loop of goals and motivation. When it comes to goal setting, it's not just what you do, but why you do it that matters. As it turns out, your intention for setting a certain goal is about just as important as the goal itself. According to self-determination theory, which is the most prominent research in human motivation, there's a spectrum of motivation from completely unmotivated to extrinsically motivated by external forces, all the way to intrinsically motivated by an internal drive. At the lower levels of this extrinsic motivation, people are being moved by fear and guilt. Around the mid-level of this spectrum, people are motivated by others, including doctors, trainers, boss, or spouse. And at the higher end of still the extrinsic motivation, it comes from a sense of needing a reward or striving for an incentive. Again, these are all still examples of extrinsic motivation, which even at its best is associated with only short-term goal achievement. The problem is that as soon as the external motivator is gone, so is the fuel for action. As soon as there's no longer a stick to scare you, you'll stop. And as soon as there's no longer a carrot to reward you, it's all over. And since you can't always control external factors, it's a recipe for failure when we're talking about long-term lifestyle change. In fact, research has found that when material ambition for rewards such as fame, money, or beauty is out of balance compared to the intrinsic drives, there's a strong association with an unstable mental health attitude, including higher depression, anxiety, narcissism, and poor social functioning. In contrast, intrinsic motivation is the fire that comes from within. People who are intrinsically motivated are not only successful at maintaining results over the long haul, they also have greater levels of satisfaction, health, and well-being. So what are intrinsic motivators? Well, they're goals that put you in control. You're the one calling the shots with an opportunity for self-direction and autonomy. They're goals that use your strengths and make you feel competent. Sure, there may be a learning curve, but ultimately, you know you can do it. They're goals that you enjoy working toward. There's an inherent pleasure in the process, not just the outcome. They give you a sense of meaning and purpose, or are part of a bigger mission that makes a difference in the world. For example, rather than avoiding fast food just to lose weight, maybe you do it to make a stand against the food and lifestyle that's poisoning our nation. They're goals that are connected to something larger than yourself. Be the change. These are goals that have a positive impact on your relationships and your community. They're goals that are aligned with your values. They're an authentic expression of who you really are. And finally, they allow you to learn. They stretch you and encourage you to grow and evolve, to expand your horizons. So I know that can be pretty heavy, so I will take a step back and say it's actually okay to have some extrinsic motivation. In fact, it's not even realistic, especially in the beginning of a program, to be entirely motivated from within. Guilt, pride, and a swift kick just might be what you need to get in the door. As long as you set the intention to start shifting more toward an intrinsic focus, I think you're going to be all right in this program. So let's look at some examples. An extrinsic motivation to exercise is because you feel like you look fat, your doctor said you have to, you feel guilty because your spouse exercises and you don't, or you want to punish yourself for all the cookies you ate, maybe even because you get a discount on health insurance. This is in contrast with intrinsic motivators to exercise, which would be because you love the way it feels to sweat and move. You want to be your best. It will make you a better spouse, parent, and you'll have more energy to work and play. Here's some more examples. If you set a goal to run a triathlon and your motivator is to prove yourself to your friends, it's an extrinsic goal. The triathlon is now an intrinsic goal if you do it because it raises funds for the Injured Athletes Foundation, or because you love running, biking, or swimming, or because you want to push your edges just for the sake of personal growth, or because the idea of doing a triathlon has just always sounded fun to you. This week, you'll have plenty of opportunity to write in your journal and uncover your motivators. All the reasons why you really want to be your best self and live at optimal health. The next important element of goal setting is flow, which is similar to being in the zone. It's the new popular topic of positive psychology, and according to its main researcher, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, it's what people find to be the most gratifying experiences in their lives. Count me in. He describes it as a feeling of floating or being in top form. He says the state is achieved when your goals stretch you slightly beyond your capabilities, as you can see here in this graph. Again, I'll say it. It's when your goals stretch you slightly beyond your capabilities. Playing tennis, for instance, is not enjoyable if the two opponents are mismatched. The less skilled player will feel anxious and the better skilled player will feel bored. The same is true pretty much for everyday activity, including fitness and your work and your relationship. Setting your goals should be like stretching a muscle. If you don't stretch enough, there's not going to be any benefit. But if you stretch too much, you're going to pull your groin. You want to mindfully stretch as much as you can and then just a little bit more. Your journal prompt this week will ask questions to check each goal for optimal level of challenge so that you can experience this state of flow while you're working towards your goals. When it comes to your health goals, you're likely to have recommendations from your doctor, nutritionist, and trainer. It's important to assess your personal feelings about these goals and your readiness to change. Do you see these as being important priorities to you, or are you just following directions? Remember, for you to tap into your intrinsic motivation, you've got to buy in and want to commit. This is something that you should consider and something we'll work on together this week. Beyond your specific health goals, we'll want to set goals in several areas from the wheel of life. Remember, Each area impacts the others, and it's nearly impossible to be at a state of optimal health and well-being when the rest of your life is in crumbles. Set goals to improve your relationship, finances, your environment, and even set goals to have more fun if that's what you need. Optimal health is about your entire life. If you're not sure where to start, you can use your journal to brainstorm all the possible goals you can think of. Then, narrow it down to just a few at a time. Choose goals that you're ready and inspired to take action on, goals that will make a big impact in your life. You can set really as many goals as you want, but 2 to 3 health goals and 2 to 3 personal life goals is pretty much enough to focus on at one time. Using the My Goals function on the menu bar, you can engage in all the best practices for goal setting. Here they are. Write down specific goals. There was a study done in Harvard in '79 that showed people who wrote down their goals earned on average 10 times more money than those who didn't. Set a date, because without a date, your goal is going to drag on forever. But with too rigid of a commitment to the date, you could stress out about meeting your deadline. So the tip, set a date and do everything you can to reach it. If you don't, learn from what happened and then reset the date. Prioritize. The 80-20 principle suggests that 20% of your goals will give you 80% of your results. Focus on the most important goals first. Track your goals and measure your progress. This program offers the goal tracking feature, which I highly recommend. Tell your friends about your goals. This kind of accountability has been proven to significantly increase the odds of success. Acknowledge your accomplishments. Self-congratulating small wins builds self-efficacy and confidence so you can keep taking on even bigger goals in the future. Finally, reevaluate your goals often. Otherwise, you'll have goals on rollover lists until 2021. If the goal is just not happening or it's no longer inspiring to you, change the goal, change your approach, or drop it. Another best practice and the next step in our process is to make an action plan by setting several smaller milestones that lead up to the success of your larger goals. By setting yourself up with this series of wins, you'll again build this thing called self-efficacy, or confidence in your ability to sustain necessary changes, which is key in this entire process. Milestones are like mini time-sensitive goals that you can mark off when they're accomplished. This is slightly different than a life practice or positive habits. These aren't time-sensitive or something you can really complete by a certain date. Rather, they're planned behaviors that are repeated over time. Exercise, meditation, taking supplements, and regular family dinners are examples of these kind of rituals or life practices. Setting a combination of these milestones and practices will help you work your way towards your goals around optimal health and well-being. The My Goals tab also lets you set milestones. Plus, you can set up automatic reminders of when your milestone is due, and you can have them sent to your personal inbox for accountability. There's a tutorial on how to do this on your Getting Started page. As important as it is to track your goals and milestones, it really doesn't mean anything if you don't have the right mindset. Most people who struggle with reaching their goals have this all or none type of mindset. They go full speed ahead until their first obstacle, and then they just quit. It's cliche, but goals are a journey, not a destination. The process of goal setting doesn't really ever end. As soon as you complete one goal, you don't stop. Rather, you simply acknowledge yourself and then you move on to the next. We've talked about this before, but it's worth a reminder. With a growth mindset, you understand that there's going to be challenges, but you're committed to mindfully coming back to your vision and your goals over and over. You know that although failure is painful, it's a valuable source of learning, and you're not stopped by it. With this mindset, you're committed to the process of reaching your goals, and you're less attached to the outcome. You have a confidence that if you continue to take action that is aligned with your vision and values, the outcomes will take care of themselves.